Folks, it may not be totally accurate, but
good evening, Rolling Meadows. This is the March 26, 2019 City Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Here.
Budmetz.
Present.
Majikis.
Here.
Gallo.
Here.
Banger.
Here.
Diastis.
Present.
Williams.
here.
7 present and unabsent. There is a quorum. Therefore, members of the audience are reminded that these proceedings are being videotaped for current and future broadcasts over the city's cable network. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the February 19th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Ms. Majikis has made that. Mr. Banger has seconded. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions? Seeing none, is the question, shall the minutes be approved? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. I'm sorry, Mark. I stand corrected. March 12th. The Committee of the Whole meeting from March 12th, 2019.
Mayor, it's 2 different minutes. One is for a cow,
Hold
one is
on.
for the...
Okay. Let's try it again, folks. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the February 19th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting and the March 12th, 2019 City Council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve minutes from both meetings? Ms. Majikis has made that. Mr. Banger has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I've got it. I need a motion to deviate. Ms. Majikis has made that. Mr. Banger has seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The purpose of the deviation is to read the public hearing for the Cook County 2019 Community Development Grant Program. Let the record show that the hearing opened at 7:34 p.m. on the 26th of 2019. The City of Rolling Meadows intends to apply for a community development block grant for the Arbor Drive roadway and water main improvements. Phase 1. The proposed improvements serve the residents of City of Rolling Meadows, the adjoining Woodfield Gardens Apartments, a commercial area, tollway building. The road also serves residential and business areas in the village of Schaumburg. No other applications have been received to date for the use of the Cook County Community Development Block Grant Funds for the 2019 application cycle. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak regarding the Cook County 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak regarding the Cook County 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program? The Cook County Bureau of Administration also requires that the City of Rolling Meadows submit potential programs and project needs for the preparation of a 5-year consolidated plan as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The 5-year consolidated plan is to include both the needs as identified by the City of Rolling Meadows and any of the nonprofit agencies located within the municipality that wish to submit program and project needs. The 5-year consolidated plan, as currently proposed, includes additional proposed projects and programs from the City of Rolling Meadows, Arbor Drive, roadway and water main, improvements, Phase 1, 2020, Phase 2, 2021, and Phase 3, 2022. Algonquin Parkway Route 62 intersection and public transportation improvements, 24. North Rolling Meadows Park District North. I love it when I go on the fly and there's typos. North Sauk Park ADA improvements for 2022. A copy of the 5-year consolidated plan as proposed is attached within the City Council packets and is on file with the City Clerk for public review. It is scheduled on tonight's City Council agenda for approval by resolution. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak regarding the Cook County 5-year consolidated plan project and program proposal to be submitted by the City of Rolling Meadows? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak regarding the Cook County 5-year consolidated plan project and program proposal being submitted by the City of Rolling Meadows? Let the record show that this hearing closed at 7:37 p.m. Do I have a motion to open the floor and second it? All in favor?
Aye.
This brings us to Mayor's Report, and this week I need to correct some statements that were made by the alderman from the 1st Ward at our last meeting. These are the minutes of the March 12th, 2019 meeting. At that time, Alderman Cannon stated that I sat in my hotel room and watched the tape of the 26th meeting. The first part, that with all the comments, was 37 minutes. I would ask you to readjust your timing. In the past, when Mr. Rooney was sitting in that chair, he always told people they were no more than 4 people, and they all had to reduce the amount of time they could spend speaking. There were only 4 people who spoke that night, and it was for a total of 11 minutes and 15 seconds. Secondly, I need to speak to the fact that on March 12th, Mr. Cannon came back and brought a motion of censure. However, neither I or members of the council, the city attorney, or the city manager were informed, and it was a surprise. It should definitely be out of respect to the council and members of the council that you would announce your intentions ahead of time. That has been asked before. I want to make it clear that with censure is a slap on the wrist. Someone may be censured a second time for a different offense, but no person can be removed from the city council by censure. I want to make sure that that was made clear, because there was, based on items that were said last time, I want to make that clear. Also, each one of you were handed a handout this morning, or this afternoon, as the fact that if we're going to back and be respectful, this is ordinance section 2.85 from our ordinance. The recognition required. Every member of the city council prior to speaking, making a motion, or seconding a motion shall address himself to the presiding officer and say, Mr. Mayor, and shall not preside with his remarks until recognized and named by the chair. I have spoken to members of the council individually, and I've spoken to you all. We need to show more respect to one another going forward. So this evening, let us begin anew. Are there ward reports? Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to offer an apology to some people in my ward. I had a couple of phone calls that I missed from a technology mistake that I made, not my staff or our staff. And I just wanted to reach out and just say I was sorry. I talked to the people who I missed their call and an email, and I apologized to both of them and told them the situation. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to acknowledge that I did make a mistake. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other ward reports? Seeing none, the meeting is now open to the public for 20 minutes. In order to secure the rights of the citizens of the city of Rolling Meadows to a fair and just representation before elected officials, and to guarantee to the elected officials an order and dignified form to which to conduct city's businesses, no person shall be allowed to engage in any activity that will disturb or disrupt the orderly proceedings of the City Council. In order to maintain this objective, the following rules of conduct are hereby established. Any person who seeks to address the City Council at this time for public comment shall be permitted to speak only upon the recognition of the presiding officer, and such a person shall adhere to the following provisions. Each person addressing the City Council shall state their name and their address for the record. Each person shall be granted no more than 5 minutes of the allotted 20 minutes in order to address the City Council. Questions and/or commentary shall be limited to the city business. Comments supporting or opposing nominated persons' candidates for elective office of the city shall be out of order. Commentary shall be directed to the presiding officer unless the presiding officer permits an individual to address the city council member or other city officers present. Discussion shall take place in a professional manner which displays mutual respect. Profanity shall not be used in any form. You will be warned the first time, and the second time you will be asked to sit down or else leave the proceedings. The first signatory is Teresa Budmetz.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes.
I direct your attention to Section 281, Subitem 6 in the Rolling Meadows Code, which says there's wording that instructs the mayor prior to hearing public comment to advise the public that the fact that no member of the City Council responds or does not indicate that the City Council or any member thereof agrees or disagrees with their comments. If you'd like to look that section up. I've looked at the video from a number of recent past meetings. Prior meetings as well as this one have not included this announcement as required by ordinance. In my opinion, this omission, which has occurred for a significant length of time, has led to some accumulated frustration on the part of citizens. This portion of the meeting is an opportunity for citizens to have a voice, and most importantly, discern that their voices are heard and not ignored. This accumulated frustration has in part caused citizens to comment to a point where you've now determined it's necessary to read lengthened rules and regulations, whereas before they were read with abbreviation concerning their limitations on public comments. We as a council need to encourage public participation, even or especially if it comes in the form of words which are uncomfortable to hear. Citizens come before us sometimes with great emotion and sometimes do so in conflict with their own personal preferences against public speaking, but they do so for what they deem are to be for the good of the city. We as aldermen all have a voice with much less limitation than those citizens who muster up the courage to speak at this portion of the meeting. In my opinion, every citizen brings forth something of value to be used and gleaned from by the council. Rather than scold or diminish citizens for their comments, we need to listen and reflect on what truths they do bring and which portions and to what degree they apply to us, and to apply those to our decision-making process on the matters in consideration before us. We owe a debt of gratitude to those who come before us, and like us, they care enough to speak out on those issues which they deem are important to the city. I further believe that future public office candidates will more likely be deterred from serving if they witness the political circus which presently occurs between council members much more than by witnessing a few citizens that come forward with honest and sharp criticism. So in closing, Mr. Mayor, I ask that you rule on this point of order as point well taken, and that you properly advise the citizens as required by Section 281, sub 6, in both this and subsequent city council meetings. Doing so will lead to increased mutual respect between the citizens and the council, which has been, in my opinion, declining for quite some time. And it is our job to set by example, rather than attempting to dictate to them with a longer dissertation of the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Budmetz. I would have appreciated you giving me a heads up on that before the meeting. Do we just amend it? Or do I have to ask for an amendment now?
No, it's just a point of order.
Yes. So it's
Which also included a speech, which is not part of order, but nonetheless, I respect what the gentleman had to say.
He has to
But
rule,
Thank you.
correct?
He can rule, and he has ruled.
I have ruled that it will be a point of order, and you have put it in there. And in the future, it will be included in what we speak before the meeting then.
Thank you very much.
So. That brings us to Ms. Teresa Budmetz. I will remind everyone that we only have 20 minutes, so if you can keep your commentary down, it would be appreciated so that everyone will have an opportunity to speak.
My name is Teresa Budmetz. I live at 2620 Benton Street in Palatine, which lies within Rolling Meadows city limits. Mr. Mayor and City Council, I was out of town at the time of the last City Council meeting on March 12, 2019. I watched the video replay of the meeting, and I wish to provide clarity, perspective, as well as a response to the personal criticisms that were directed towards me by name during the meeting. In my original remarks at the February 26, 2019 meeting, I invited further conversation, and yet I received only one phone call from a member of this council and city government looking to discuss my comments and their reasoning. Yet I did receive at least a dozen direct messages, phone calls, and emails in support of my comments from both citizens and business leaders of Rolling Meadows. Some I had never even met prior. This kind of response from the citizens and lack of response from those who my comments were addressed means I struck a chord and demonstrates the distance between city government and the city citizens. I have observed many meetings where citizen after citizen have come forth to express their majority desires and concerns, only to then witness the council vote directly against their petition with little or oftentimes no discussion. I believe this kind of response is more the reason why the citizens of Rolling Meadows will choose not to want to get involved in city government versus the remarks I made 4 weeks ago. The timing of my remarks were most definitely not politically motivated or connected to the upcoming election as accused. My comments were only a direct result and response to the actions that took place at the 2 city council meetings immediately prior to my remarks. The fact that those actions occurred prior to an election is the only reason my comments were made close to an election. I appreciate that the City Council spends a lot of time preparing and reading for City Council meetings, but it does no good to read documents and not offer mutual respect and acknowledgement of the citizens who come to have their voices heard. The documents and the citizens deserve the same level of consideration. I am happy to apologize for my previous comments if they came across as harsh or unfair, but I will not apologize for raising the issues I brought forth. My words were rooted in the amount of frustration I have experienced and the embarrassment I have felt over the last several months by some of the decisions and actions of this council. As I stated in my original remarks, I am still open to further conversation and welcome anyone to reach out to me directly for discussion. I hope my comments today are accepted in the spirit that they're offered and that the City Council can move forward in a positive light with and for the entire city. Thank you.
The next signatory is Karen McHale.
Hello, my name is Karen McHale. I live at 2703 Old Mill Lane in the Plum Grove Creek neighborhood. I first want to thank you for your service to our community. I know that it can be a thankless, time-consuming, and often difficult position. I'm here today on behalf of our neighborhood to urge council to reconsider the electronic sign that is to be erected at 2550 Quinton Road, Quinton and Silent Brook Lane. I have personally tried to get information on this sign before the final vote to no avail, which was what brings me here today. I first heard of this sign around December in a Facebook community page in which the agenda of the City Council meeting was being discussed, and I asked where I could find some details of this electronic sign, to which Mr. Dave Whitney of the Planning and Zoning Committee kindly gave me his phone number. I called him and he gave me some basic details about the sign. This was around December 18th. I was under the impression that at this point in time there were quite a few more steps that needed to be taken before it became a reality. At this point, there had only been approval granted that signage would be allowed on this parcel of property. I called the Ward 1 Alderman, Mike Cannon, around that time and on the stated phone number on the city website and left him a message because I had questions and concerns about this issue. I had been looking through the city council meeting minutes and did not see it come up again and just figured I would keep an eye out if any information popped up. Plum Grove Creek has a neighborhood group that keeps us connected through various outlets, social media, neighborhood events, etc. And we decided that a newsletter would enhance our communications throughout our neighborhood. I thought, I'm going to write something up in the newsletter about the sign. It came up briefly as topic of conversation in our neighborhood at a couple past events, and no one was aware of the possibility of an electronic messaging center or knew any details. I was not planning on putting an opinion on whether it was a good idea or not, just details of what was proposed, maybe a picture. On March 6th, I sent an email to the Ward 1 Alderman's email address as stated on the city website with questions and concerns regarding the sign to include in my newsletter for the neighborhood. March 12th, city council meeting, the sign is up for a vote and gets approved. Wait a minute, how can that be? I've been trying to get information about this sign since December and have gotten no response, and now it's approved for installation. This is such an odd spot for an electronic message board, a residential area where there is no stoplight or stop sign, where cars are cruising past at 35 miles an hour if they're going the speed limit, where there is no stop, and how are people going to read it and retain that information? What information are we trying to relay that cannot be done via email, social media, or the newsletters that I get with my water bill? I can tell you that just about every person in my neighborhood that I spoke to about this sign does not think this is a good placement or a good use of taxpayer money. And of those people in my neighborhood that I spent hours talking to and making aware of this sign, not even one knew that this was happening until it was a done deal. That is not right. Where is the conversation? How did we not know that this was a possibility? I have no doubt that intentions are good. However, I personally believe that this is not the most well thought out plan. I feel I did what I could in attempting to obtain more information about this to bring to the attention of my community. I don't feel that my representatives actively listened to or communicated well enough in response to my concerns, and I'm still waiting for a response. I'm sorry, Mr. Cannon, but I have not heard from you yet in response to my email.
Ma'am, just address to the chair, please.
I'm sorry. I'm requesting the council go back on this one and take a look and really listen and hear what the residents of Rolling Meadows are asking, and I thank you for your time and service to our community.
Next signatory is Nancy Mao.
My name is Nancy Mao, and I live at 2609 Mill Creek Lane, and I've been living in Ward 1 for nearly 16 years. My alderman, Mike Cannon, told me last week that he hasn't checked his aldermanic phone messages nor emails since last fall when he lost his cell phone. He never set up his aldermanic communications when he obtained his new phone and failed to notice he wasn't hearing from his constituents. My neighbor Karen McHale and I both contacted him more than once about the sign to be installed on Quentin near the entrance to our subdivision. As he voted yes for the sign without input from his constituents, I'm asking for you to please reopen this topic for a new discussion and vote. The original vote was taken and ultimately approved, even though affected constituents' questions and concerns were not mentioned or addressed. I was told by the city manager that the deposit had already been made to the vendor, but I see tonight you're voting on easement for the sign. Why would you have made payment before all aspects of the project had been approved? In just a week's notice, despite neighbors traveling for spring break, Karen McHale and I were able to speak out to well over 50% of the households in our neighborhood. 99% of those that we were able to reach opposed the sign. And we made a little bit of map. We gave it to Mr. Vaught over there. We have lists of all the signatures and a map showing you how much of our neighborhood opposes this sign. We are opposed for several reasons. First, an electronic sign with red scrolling information doesn't fit in with the aesthetics of our neighborhood and should be put with commercial property. I can't understand how the Planning and Zoning Commission approved such a sign on land zone residential. I was told the sign was originally put on Plum Grove Road by the fire station, and it changed to Quentin because the fire station is being sold. We are better off without an additional sign than one place just because that's where you have access to land. Alderman Cannon stated in an email response to one of our neighbors that this was Plan B and not ideal, that a sign was seriously researched and discussed for Plum Grove Road. I received a FOIA request today from Judith Burrows, the Deputy City Clerk for Rolling Meadows, for all the discussion regarding the sign on Quentin, and the only information I was able to find was discussion from the Zoning and Planning Commission, nothing from City Council discussing the sign on Quentin. The Planning and Zoning Commission inquired about if a traffic study had been done, if a photometric study to determine how the light will impact the neighbors were done. As no studies were done and the land is zoned residential, I failed to understand why the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the project. I also question why the City Council didn't have any discussion on this project and failed to act as a check and balance on the Planning and Zoning Commission. More importantly, as neighbors and friends of the houses on Silent Brook, we are concerned about the financial hit these homes will face as the sign shining into their backyards, and even houses will devalue their homes. I asked the City Council, have you guys contacted a home appraiser to calculate their losses? Because I know if they try to sell their homes right now with a sign, they're going to take a huge financial hit. Cars will be driving minimum 35 miles per hour, looking at a sign where there isn't a stop sign or a stoplight. How is this not a distraction for drivers, and how much information could they really absorb driving that fast? For safety reasons, we're concerned that the sign placement will block our vision when we look southbound to make a northbound turn onto Quentin. My husband and I stood where the proposed sign will be placed and at the intersection, and we really believe visibility will be reduced. I know that the goal of the sign is to reach out to Rolling Meadow residents who live west of 53. But how many Rolling Meadow residents drive down Quentin, especially between Silent Brook and Hartung? My entire neighbor, we pulled them when we were going door to door getting signatures, and pretty much everybody, if they leave and they want to go northbound, they go out Silent Brook. If they want to go southbound, they go out Hartung. They never pass that stretch of road. So the people driving down Quentin...
You have less than a minute.
Okay, the people driving down Quentin are primarily residents of Schaumburg and Palatine, not Rolling Meadows. Thank you so much for your consideration in this matter. Thank you.
I believe the next three gentlemen are from Taylor Morrison. Scott? Are you?
That was just for Q&A.
So all three of you, if we need to open up the floor, you're available for question and answers. Okay. The next signatory is Patty Callahan.
Bear with me here. I have to change glasses. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Each one of you holds the future of the Rolling Meadows downtown in your vote. Commerce, whether it's services, retail, or restaurants, balances the residential. Too much residential creates commerce leakage to get the services not available in our downtown. Leakage equates a loss of tax dollars, which must be made up. Our local tax base is high enough. Past decisions and votes of this council and others have closed the door and commerce for this downtown and community. The Dominic slot is the last chance for the downtown Kimball Hill built. Communities that have been built, I'm sorry, that's my alert on my phone, I'm sorry. With a downtown of shopping centers have city leaders, I'm all distracted, I'm sorry. Communities that have been built with a downtown of shopping centers have city leaders found ways to reinvent with the times, not tear down commerce structures and replace with residentials. Sunday, I sent all of you a thesis by Dr. Begshaw, Director of the Economics Department of Harper College. I hope that you were able to read at least the conclusion. I apologize for the error of the number of pages. The thesis contains factual information that states there needs to be a balance of commerce and than residential. Actually, more commerce allows a community to prosper. Replacing residential where commerce is a detrimental and long-term liability to the community. Without creating more commerce within a community, all the city is creating a higher tax base for the residential. I'm urging each of you to do the right thing for the residents and future residents, to vote no on Taylor Morrison. Thank you very much.
Annette Sasson?
My name's Annette Zaffron. I live at 2309 Central Road, Rolling Meadows. I come before you because I'm just a little bit confused on what's going on, like a lot of us are. It seems to me that when we were at the last, prior to that, when we were at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, it received a no vote on Meadow Square because of height and closeness to Meadow Drive. Then at the last Committee of the Whole meeting, they took an informal straw vote that went forward. Now it looks like you're on the agenda, approve final plan development. So if there were questions about the structures, didn't it have to go back to the zoning board to see if their plans included what you wanted? Or are you just letting them say, okay, we made the changes, it's okay, we added a few nicer colors? Oh, whippy-doo. They basically took the Ryan Home plans, took their name off, put their name on, and now we're moving it forward. How much time did you have to study Morrison plans, not the Ryan plans, because I'm considering them gone and away? And how much impact does an informal straw vote carry? I would think that it would have to go back to the Plan Commission to include the changes that you requested, to make sure that the plans, when they're on file for the future, are in agreement with what you wanted. The height had to be changed and the closeness to the street. Secondly, why is there such a rush by this council to make this approval? I have this feeling, like many of the residents, you want to hurry up and rush this through. I don't know why. I don't know what promises perhaps were made to Morrison, but this should be tabled. You know an election is coming up. I think that's the reason behind pushing a final approval through at this particular time. You guys need to stop and think, just like these ladies were talking about the signage. Nobody ever does that. You take a vote and boom, it's done. This council has lost trust because you rush things through all the time. Not one instance, many, many, many times. You don't cross your T's, you don't dot the I's, you just rush it through because you want this notoriety to be on this council. Stop already. We don't need people to rush through things. We need people that are intelligent and look at things and ponder it and give it the right reasoning. If it needs to go back to the zoning commission to make sure that they've got all the things in place, please do that. Don't skip over a process because you want to hurry it along. Morrison will be here for the next several months, years, whatever. We don't need to give them final approval tonight or any other night until it's a done deal.
Thank you for your comments. Maggie Trevor is the next signatory.
Maggie Trevor. I live at 3905 Red Wing Court in Rolling Meadows. I am here today about the 19R20, which is the authorization for the submittal of a grant application for the Hicks-Euclid bike path. I'm here both to answer any questions that you may have when this comes up as a member of the Environmental Committee and the Bicycle Liaison to the Traffic Committee, but I also would like to just add a couple of things that I think are really important to keep in mind for this. First of all, the bike path along the Hicks from Kirchhoff to Euclid addresses a very serious issue in terms of flooding of the sidewalk. I took a picture that should be submitted to you that shows just how hazardous this is for both bicycles and pedestrians. It was impassable, this marsh, with ice and slush from the snowplows. Also, I want you to keep in mind that this bike path, this section of the bike path was part of the bike path master plan, as well as being consistent with the comprehensive plan which the council approved. In addition, again, keep in mind that this is only approval to submit a grant application. It's not approving any funds. So you're simply allowing us to go forward with pursuing this grant. And also, I want to point out that this grant would provide 80% of the funds for this project, which is an incredible return on our investment, especially since this is such an important project for safety for bicycles and pedestrians. And again, I will be here for any questions that you may have about this. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. The next signatory is Karen Gill.
Hi, my name is Karen Gill, 2408 Martin Lane in Rolling Meadows. I'm here as the Rolling Meadows Environmental Committee chairperson. I am also in support of Resolution 19-R-20. Our membership feels it's important to connect get another section of bike path connected here between Kirchhoff and Euclid on Hicks. By having a bike-friendly infrastructure, we'll protect the walking pedestrians and keep the riding cyclists safe from accidents. Having more bike riders in the community is good for the public health and the environment. This is an opportunity for better connectivity of our paths, improve the mobility of our community in and around Rolling Meadows. By having a bike-friendly infrastructure, we'll cut down on the carbon emission pollution in an area that nearby has times of heavy traffic, car traffic, and consistent airplane traffic. By connecting this, we will allow people from the north, people going north to Countryside Park. We also will be able to have people coming south into Rolling Meadows. They can get to the community events. They can get to the parks, the library, the Salt Creek Corridor, and Emily's Prairie, and just better transportation into Rolling Meadows. So again, Rolling Meadows Environmental Committee is in favor of this, and I'd also like to add on, we have Earth Day coming up April 27th.
Thank you. We have Dale Engelking. Would you step forward? You have 2 minutes left.
Okay, I'll make it real short. My name is Dale Engelking, 3206 Plum Grove Drive in Rolling Meadows, longtime resident. Just want to remind everybody there's an election coming up next week. I'd just like to remind everybody that when you vote for an alderman or an older lady, the new ones that are coming up or the ones that want to be reelected, they have to remember that they are to represent the people in their ward. It's not about I, or anything like that. It's about we as a community, as a town. And the majority of the councilmen, I feel, it's only about I, and they want to push the agenda that they want. There's a couple of them, couple council members, and they know who they are, that vote according to the way the people want. And I just think for you, Mr. Mayor, to try to silence us and to try to silence the council members from speaking is an insult to the residents of Rolling Meadows, because we're paying your wage. It's our town, we pay the taxes, and I just believe that with the new election coming up, that it's not about I, it's about we as a town. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
This moves the council to the first order of business. Its consent ordinance is in for second reading. Resolution number 19-R-20 authorizes the submittal of a grant application for Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program Fund for Hicks Euclid Bike Path Extension, tabled at 2/12/19 and at 2/26/19 City Council meetings. At the February 26, 2019 City Council meeting, a vote was on the proposed resolution of support for a grant application was postponed until March 26 City Council meeting to obtain more information on the project. The additional information is included in the agenda packet. The resolution, if adopted, would authorize the submittal of a grant application to ITEP for the proposed construction of a bike path on the west side of Hicks Road, from Kirchhoff Road to Euclid Avenue, and on Euclid Avenue from Hicks Road to the Countryside Park entrance. This resolution is identified in the city's master bike path plan. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So
Ms.
moved, Mayor.
Majikis has made that motion. Ms. Majikis? Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor.
We're going to be, is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Yes. Sir, I know it's
Mr.
a new
Mayor,
thing.
I have taken this under a good deal of consideration. I'm a bit of a neophyte here still, being only 8 months into the organization. I have two problems with this bike path grant. On the surface, it sounds like a great deal, where we only pay 20% and the city gets the other 80% elsewhere. I have measured the total distance of this segment of bike path. It is 1/2 of a mile. The cost to Rolling Meadows is proposed to be $240,000, with a total cost of $1,083,000. We are being asked to commit to a payment of the sum of money potentially in 2021 or 2022. Right now, the total annual budget for our road repairs is $1.25 million per year, which means that we are being asked to commit an amount equal to 20% of our now annual road repair budget 3 to 4 years from now, without knowing whether we will even have the money or that it won't be desperately needed for road or other infrastructure repairs at that time. My second problem is the projected cost of this half-mile bike trail. According to the Midwest Economic Institute, the cost of 1 mile of asphalt, one-lane road in the state of Illinois is $60,000, $52,000 for construction, $8,000 in engineering costs. I'm willing to assume that this number is wrong by 10 times. So a mile of one-lane asphalt road would cost $600,000. This leads to a question of why does half a mile of bike path cost almost $1.1 million? Taking both of these items into consideration, I simply cannot vote for the city to commit spending $250,000 2 to 3 years from now on something that seems to be way overpriced, when we may badly need the funds to bring roads in town up to par, and there may be other infrastructure items, flood water control, water lines, et cetera, that may need the money. If we commit to this now, we will be forced to carry through regardless of our then needs, because if we don't, there will be a political price to pay for the city's reputation and our ability to get future grants. I just don't like possibly putting the city in a position that limits what we can do and when we can do it in the future on a very iffy item in the first place. I will be voting no.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Budmatz.
Question for Mr. Vogt. This area is subject to flooding, and if we're going to put this bike path in this area, will this transfer into greater flooding for the residents who are on Adams, on the east side of Adams, where their backyards would become the lowest point and they would flood there instead of flooding now in the sidewalks on the other side of the fence where it currently floods, the proposed area for the bike path?
Mr. Vogt, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My response to that question, Alderman Budmatz, is that's why we do phase one engineering design. We have to study the entire corridor, study the drainage patterns that exist not only in Hicks Road proper in Euclid Avenue, but also the affecting properties. There would be, I would expect, in the phase one engineering study, identified situations where drainage would have to be correctable by either ditches, by retaining walls, or by combination of even storm sewer, storm pipes, storm structures, which I think in worst case, talking specifically about the adjoining properties that abut Hicks Road, may require easements to be obtained in order to accommodate the drainage. We would certainly look at the possibilities of swales to keep costs down, but storm sewers or storm drainage structures and the like might be an option too, depending on how that bike path is designed, whether it's designed up at the elevation of Hicks Road or somewhere in between. That's all part of the phase one report, but that identifies all options, identifies preliminary costs, and certainly would provide for solutions and not to create any problems.
And would those solutions, in theory, be included within this $1,080,000 fee, or not really?
We believe so, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I have
yes,
a comment.
Mr. Gallo, Alderman Gallo.
I was not aware that we would be justifying or defending the need to have bicycle lanes or additional bicycle paths throughout a community, understanding that in the future, this is what generations that are younger than myself are looking for and toward for multimodal use for transportation to and from work. So I don't have many statistics in front of me, but I do know that it's a $6 billion industry, bicycling is, and the nation's 60 million annual recreational bicyclists spend $46.9 billion on meals, transportation, lodging, gifts, and entertainment. And one study estimates that spillover effects for all bicycling-related activities could be as large as $133 billion, supporting 1.1 million jobs and generating $17 billion in federal, state, and taxes. And so when we look not just to today, but toward tomorrow, that it's a sound investment, and we expect to get some return on that investment by making our community more appealing for younger generations.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. I know it's a hard transition.
Well, I didn't know. I spoke
yes.
first.
Yes, you spoke first.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Alderman Diaz.
Thank you. So I guess my question would be, if we apply for the grant and are lucky enough to receive it, do we have an option to turn it down in the future, or must we accept it?
Mr. Vogt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Diastis, that's always an option at any stage of a project. Certainly, we've had other grants that have been tenuous at best with regards to proceeding through the various processes, but the City Council always gets the opportunity, should we be fortunate enough to make the grant application, to get acceptance of it, to schedule that work with input of the council on an annual basis. Staff estimates if we are successful, the project would be at least a 3-year time frame from the start of Phase 1 engineering, the completion of that, IDOT's review of the Phase 1 report, then doing the final design engineering, leading into construction. It may even be a 4-year process. So from a budgetary standpoint, from a planning standpoint with the city and with local roads funds where this likely would be, our share would be funded out of, it's really somewhat fluid in terms of, usually it's not how fast we can do it, it's usually how much time is it going to take to do it, because as we go through grant processes and IDOT process, it seems to tend to take longer than we expect going into it than shorter. But it is over a several-year period. If we would turn down the grant later, it's hard to say whether that would affect future grant opportunities. It certainly wouldn't look favorably on us at that point in time, but every council, you know, at certain points at times and considering what you've got to face may have reasons for turning it down or deferring it. We have always been able to request extensions if there are issues, including financial ones.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that I understand all the pricing here. $823,000 for construction, but that includes pedestrian traffic signal. Can you, I'd like an explanation of specifically what is the pedestrian traffic signal. Second is land acquisition. That's $80,000 that we're estimating that we will have to purchase for to offset the flooding. $80,000 for utility relocation. That's relatively straight up. And then $100,000 for design and construction engineering. And that's typically 10% of the cost, or that could be somewhat fluid. So my main question is, can you tell me more about this pedestrian traffic signal?
Yes, Alderman Diaz. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The traffic signals that are currently located at the intersection of Hicks and Euclid are simply traffic signals for the vehicles. There are no pedestrian signals there. In order to build any bike path project and using federal monies, one has to provide safe means of crossing the street. It's very similar to what we have. Just to name one close example is at Rowling and Euclid. When that bike path was built to go from north to south across Euclid, there's pedestrian signals there that was put in as part of the project. So that's what this money would be used for, to install the pedestrian signals on the existing traffic signal.
And do you have an estimate of how much that's going to cost?
The estimate per what's in the packet from the city engineer who put this together a year ago is $65,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Further
Mayor?
discussion?
Mr.
Yes.
Mayor?
Alderman Majakis?
Just, what is the timing for applying for this grant? When does it need to be applied for by? Is there a specific date for it? Typically there is.
Alderman Majakis, I don't know exactly the date. I believe the time frame for the ITEP grants is a summer submittal.
Like the beginning of the summer usually?
Usually.
Okay, thank you.
Are there further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diaz. Diaz.
I'm.
Oh, okay.
I heard.
I don't want to be ignored.
No.
Williams.
No.
Cannon.
No.
Budmetz.
Yes.
Majakis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
With 4 in favor and 3 opposed, this resolution is approved. This brings us to Ordinance B, number 19-23, is to authorize the reserving the city's 2019 Home Rule Private Activity Bond Volume Cap. This ordinance, if adopted, would reserve the city's 2019 private activity volume cap so that the ordinance should, so that should there be a future project, the volume cap can be sold or transferred for a fee. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mr. Banger has made that. Thank you, Ms. Majakis. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmetz.
Yes.
Majakis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diaz.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the ordinance is approved. Ordinance C is number 19-24, is to amend 106-18A of the City Code, parking prohibited in specific places, Meadowbrook Drive. This ordinance, if adopted, would establish additional parking restrictions in certain locations on certain public streets in the city, specifically on the south side of Lewis Drive and on the west side of Meadowbrook Drive. These streets already have no parking signage posted on the north side and the east side of the streets, respectively, per ordinance 18-58. The inclusion of these street locations within the city code, traffic selection 106-18A, will establish enforcement of traffic regulations and consistent posting of signs. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Thank you, McAster. Is there discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Alla.
Thank you. This is in my ward, and I have had been in contact with the company U.S. Waterproofing. They were concerned initially about the prohibiting, and so I'm happy to say that Mr. Vogt and I walked the area, made some determinations, and now U.S. Waterproofing is, it's a great company in town, and they are in support of this action. So, be that as it may, I will be voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmats.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Absolutely, yes.
Williams.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. This ordinance is approved. This brings us to the consent ordinances, and for the first reading, it consists of 3 items, D through E. Does any alderman wish to remove an item from the consent ordinances?
Mr. Mayor, item numbers D and F, I'm assuming you're voting on that one too.
Yeah, it's D, E, and F, so we will not have a consent ordinances. So we will take them one at a time. You wanted D and F?
Yes, please.
Ordinance D, number 19, is to adopt the 2019 Comprehensive Land Use Plan. This ordinance would adopt the proposed update to the city's Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The 2019 Comprehensive Plan update has been prepared by the city planning consultants, Tesca Associates, during a 9-month period of time, June 2018 to March 2019. Public engagement efforts include online web page access, focus groups, workshops, and public hearings. The plan is intended to be a guide and tool for evaluating future land use, development, and redevelopment proposals considered by the city. The document is available for viewing online at www.planforrollingmeadows.org. Is there a motion to move forward?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Baner.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We're going to get there yet. Is there, you have first call, Mr. Budmats?
Thank you, Mayor. This document is something that we only purchase like once every 10 years. So I really think that there would be value in it, seeing that 20% of the citizens of Rolling Meadows are Spanish-speaking or Hispanic in nature, that we would have this document available in Spanish. I've looked into it, and a different citizen has also come forward and said that required several quotations. It could be accomplished for less than $5,000. So to be able to reach our 20% of our citizens in a different language with a document that is really important to the city, that's only produced once every 10 years, I would strongly urge the staff to consider having this translated into Spanish so that all of the citizens of Rolling Meadows could easily access and utilize this very important document.
Thank you, Mr. Budmats. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I have
yes,
some
Mr.
comments.
Gell.
So I can't be a master of all things, and I've weighed my opinion against this comprehensive plan with other non-governmental organizations who also check to see what communities and municipalities are doing in the north southwestern region of Illinois and the southeastern region of Wisconsin. And so tonight I'll be declining this, but not to put a kibosh on it, but to wait until I hear more conclusive evidence that we are moving in the appropriate direction with the greater portion of the region of our state and the southern region of Wisconsin.
Thank you. Further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Budmats.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
No.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
With 6 approved and 1 opposed, that ordinance does pass. That brings us to ordinance E, is to approve an amendment to the Continental Towers Plan Development for electrical vehicle charging stations at 1701 Gulf Road. This ordinance, if adopted, will allow an amendment to the existing Continental Towers Plan Development to allow 3 electric vehicle charging stations in the parking lot. Do I have a motion to move that forward?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Jackus. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmats.
Yes.
With 7 approved and none opposed, that ordinance does move forward. That brings us to ordinance F, ordinance number 19. Approve the final plan development for 2819, 2915 Kirchhoff Road, Meadow Square. This ordinance, if adopted, would grant final approval of a plan development of 106 townhome units, include stormwater detention facilities, private streets, and common areas, open space for the property commonly known as 2819, 2915 Kirchhoff Road, Rolling Meadows. Do I have a motion to move forward?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Baner. Seconded?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Budmats, I believe you have first track at this.
Thank you, Mayor. I listened and that the Environmental Committee ruled on Hicks Road bike path, but I see nothing in the packet about how the Environmental Committee reviewed the plan for this particular item, 19-00, and I look at the map that they provided for the Hicks Road, and it includes the bike path, which is in front of the property in question, where it clearly shows that the bike path is there. Part of the packet does say that they would be removing the bike path, but the Environmental Committee hasn't ruled on this or even discussed it according to the packet. Can we please have the Environmental Committee look at this and get back to us and give us a ruling, because we wouldn't want to discount their opinions, and as much as we've used it already, consider other matters tonight.
Thank you. This is the first reading, and the
I don't know how often they meet or anything. So
I'm sure they're willing to even do a special meeting, having been part of the environmental and having appointed a couple of those folks to the bike committee. Yes. Thank you. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Vogt had his hand up.
Mr. Vogt, I'm sorry.
If I may,
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in regards to Mr. Alderman Budmat's question, the Environmental Committee has not, to my recollection, weighed in on this. Certainly they can at their next meeting, which is typically in early April. When staff looked at this proposal with regards to the considerations for the building location fronting Meadow, and looking at our master bike path plan that was last revised, I believe, in 2017, the section on Meadow Drive to the south is called for to be a future bike lane, not to be an off-street bike path. So that was the consideration that staff put into the proposal that you see before us with regards to taking the existing 10-foot wide sidewalk or bike path as it was constructed 20 years ago that terminates at the south end of the former Dominic site to recognize what the bike path plan says is consistent with that. That's why you see what you see tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion?
So can we move that? Can I make a motion that we allow the Environmental Committee to at least come back to us, have a meeting about it, and discuss it so that we know what their recommendation is, seeing that we care about what their opinion is about this other bike path? I can't imagine discounting it about this. So I'd like to move that we let the Environmental Committee do their job.
Okay, Mr. Vogt, further comment?
Mr. Mayor, we can put that on their next agenda. They are tentatively scheduled to meet on Tuesday, April 2nd. I believe they may be moving that meeting because of the election, but whatever date that next meeting will be, we'll put that on their agenda.
So they'll bring it back to us at the April meeting.
So then can we table this until after that?
Well, it is the first reading. They can bring it back to us for the second reading, and you can adjust it then, or you can table it.
I would move to table it.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Oh, excuse me. Do I have a motion? I'm sorry, Mr. Vogt. Okay. I need a motion to open the floor.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Banjer. Do I have a second?
I second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would you step forward, please, and state your name and your address?
Thank you. My name is Scott Barenbrugge, VP of Land Acquisition and Development with Taylor Morrison. Our office is located at 1834 Walden Office Square, Suite 300 in Schaumburg, Illinois, 60173. As staff pointed out, we're not proposing to remove the long-term plan for an on-street bike lane. That bike lane does not yet exist. It's in the long-term plans of the Environmental Committee and city staff. That's not what's being proposed this evening. So there's an existing 10-foot sidewalk or path along Meadow Drive that is no longer part of the city's long-term bike path plans that we are replacing with a 5-foot sidewalk. But again, the on-street bike path and the long-term plans is not part of our proposal. So deferring to Environmental Committee, I'm not sure what that accomplishes.
Mr. Vogt, could you weigh in on this since you've been on in negotiations and there are a couple other points?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This was discussed with the petitioner going into the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, and because of the setback consideration for the proposed buildings on Meadow Drive, staff felt comfortable with narrowing the sidewalk that exists and moving it to where the new sidewalk would be roughly the same place as the face of the existing 10-foot bike path is. If City Council is uncomfortable with that proposal to take the 10-foot wide concrete sidewalk bike path and change it to 5, certainly it's at the council's discretion or pleasure to make that bike path stay as it is. It's not going to affect the petitioner's proposal at all because it is all within the confines of the right-of-way. So whether it's a 10-foot bike path sidewalk as is currently existing, or whether it would become a 5-foot sidewalk with a future on-street bike lane that the city would be responsible for, is really, I think, what I'm hearing, and that's really at the council's discretion.
So, Mr. Budmetz, we were in the process of wanting to table this, but as long as we have these gentlemen up here, what is your, you brought it forth, so what would you?
Well, in the pictures that they provided us, there's a picture of what looks to me like a bike lane. I mean, it's 10 foot wide, and if they're telling me that they're going to put a 5-foot sidewalk there instead of it, and then have bicyclers ride in the street, that seems to me to be different than what it currently is used for, and I would like our environmental committee to be able to at least rule on that, and then the zoning committee could use that information in their plan. We have a no vote from them. I would really like them to be able to look at it and make a good decision. As Mrs. Safran said, this seems to be going really fast, and so why are we going to let one committee not rule, another committee not use their information, also they can get done really quick? So I would ask that we table this and let our committees do their work. That's why we have these people do this job.
Okay. So, hold on, Mr. Vogt. So are you proposing it goes back to zoning and the environmental committee?
The environmental committee, I don't know about zoning, so we don't know what the environmental committee is going to say.
Mr. Vogt, since you are liaison for the environmental committee and you're talking about the next meeting, we need your input of when they could meet and come back to a recommendation for the city.
We certainly can have them meet at their next meeting. I'm presuming the meeting date could be next week, because typically, as I said earlier, it's on the 2nd, but they were looking to move the meeting, as I understood, as of recently as yesterday. My point again is that if City Council is uncomfortable with removing the 10-foot bike path sidewalk that's there now, and much of it is likely to be damaged during construction anyway, if council wants to retain that, that certainly is your choice to do that. That can be made a condition. I don't believe that one way or the other that is going to affect the development. It's simply having a wider sidewalk bike path there, and it doesn't really affect the project at all in terms of on the project site.
So, further comment from, you've heard the concern, so I just want you to be aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just a bit confused on the process. We were not informed of the environmental committee as part of the zoning process for final PUD approval.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Diastis.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is there's a 10-foot sidewalk there that can remain there, or it can go be a bike lane in the street like we have in other areas of the city. And that either way, it doesn't impact the project. So I don't see any reason why we should table this because it does not have any impact on the project.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I've been
Mr.
hearing
Diastis, thank you.
conversations that there's a potential for a bike path to migrate into the street and maintain a 5-foot sidewalk or a 10-foot sidewalk and allow bicycles to traverse that path on Meadow. And I want to keep in mind that there is heavy usage by children on Meadow going to and from both Kimball Hill Elementary School and Carl Sandburg Junior High. So it's important that we do let the Environmental Club look at this from all aspects and see how it affects the children and the users of this sidewalk before we make a decision.
Okay, thank you. I do agree with that. I did bring that up in our meeting along with a number of other items. Thank you, sir. And we will move forward.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So I have a motion to table.
Do I have a motion to close the floor, please?
No.
Mr.
Mayor?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Majakis.
Thank
He has
you.
a table, I mean, he has
I know, I
motion
just-
to table out there, but go ahead. You have a question for the...
Thank you. So again, if we, as Mr. Vogt said, the environmental group will be meeting early next week.
Yeah.
So they'll have plenty of time to come back with us. So there's really, in my book, no reason to table it, because we're still going to have the opportunity, if we don't like what we see when it comes back to us, just like we did today, that some of the aldermen voted against the grant, then that's the process that I feel that
Okay.
we need to go with. So.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Excuse me, on the floor. There's only one person speaking, and that is up here. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Alderman Gallo.
Mr.
You've been
Mayor,
recognized.
with all due respect, I do recommend we table this because it will give us time to allow the committee to do their due diligence, bring it back before us as city council members so we can bring it back before our ward thereafter and then make a decision.
I do agree with you, and I'm letting everyone have a discussion on the motion before we go forward. Any further discussion? Mr. Budmats, you have made a motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Gallo has seconded. Is there further discussion on the motion to table? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Gallo.
Yes.
Banger.
No.
Diastis.
No.
Williams.
No.
Cannon.
No.
Budmats.
Yes.
Majakis.
No.
Motion to table defense by Falter. Please, let's have order, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 5, that loses by motion to 5-3. Thank you. Okay, we do have ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you to please listen to what's going in the council. Thank you.
And we're asking you to be fair. And listen to us. We pay your salary.
Excuse me, I'm asking everyone to please listen. Excuse me. We're all here to move the city forward, so please. The motion. Do we have a motion? I have a motion to close the floor.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Has been seconded.
So moved, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we please vote on the ordinance number 19-00 for the first reading? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Banger.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
No.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
No.
By a vote of 5-2, this does move forward. This brings us to new business, motions to approve the payment of bills on warrant number 326-19. Is there a motion to approve the warrant?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Baner. Is there a
Second.
Second. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. This warrant is approved. The next item on the agenda are the consent resolutions. It consists of 17 items, H through X. Does any alderman wish to remove any items from the consent agenda for resolutions?
W, Mr. Mayor.
V, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Thanks,
Was that V, Alderman?
V, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
H, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Diastis. Does any alderman wish to remove anything else? The chair declares it in one motion for all 14 resolutions without debate. Is there such a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Baner. Has it been seconded?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Williams. I is resolution number 19-R-37, award a contract for professional services for modifications of the HVAC control system Phase 2 for City Hall. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize a contract for the materials installation services to perform the proposed modifications to City Hall, police station, to the controls for the HVAC systems, and to remedy the existing problems. J, resolution number 19-R-38 is to award a contract landscape service for city properties for fiscal year 2019. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize a one-year contract with 2 one-year annual renew options for landscape services to be performed at various city properties for the 2019 season. K, resolution number 19-R-39 is to award a contract for the 2019 street reconstruction project. This resolution, if adopted, award a contract for the proposed 2019 street reconstruction project in the approved budget for fiscal year 2019 is $742,500 local road funds for construction and $15,000 for stormwater funds and stormwater repairs totaling $792,000. L, resolution number 19-R-40 is to award the contract for 2019 street reconstruction project engineering services. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract for civil engineering services for the necessary construction observation for the 2019 street reconstruction project consisting of Highland Drive, Ardale Drive, East of Quinton Road, Kevin Lane, Michael Court, Jessica Court, and Prairie Drive. M, resolution number 19-R-41 was award a professional service design engineering services for the South Street Plum Grove Drive water main replacement project. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract in the amount not to exceed $67,500 for professional design engineering services needed to replace approximately 3,400 linear feet of water main along South Street and Plum Grove Drive. The South Street and Plum Grove Drive locations were identified as one of the highest priority utility projects associated with the recent City Council actions related to the issuance of an infrastructure bond upcoming in 2019. Resolution number 19-R-42 is to award a contract for replacement of existing water main on Harbor Drive Phase 1 bond funded. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract in the amount not to exceed $650,037.50 for the replacement of approximately 2,500 linear feet of main water along and under Arbor Drive. This project is the first of a 4-phase plan identified in the 5-year capital improvement plan. Although this project was identified in fiscal year 2019 budget, the costs associated with this project will be funded as part of a recent bond issuance. Resolution number 19-R-43 is to award a professional engineering contract for the construction, observation, and related engineering services for the proposed water main replacement at Arbor Drive, Phase 1, bond funded. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract in the negotiated amount not to exceed $71,030.20 for construction, observation, and engineering-related services for the proposed Phase 1 water main improvement project located on Arbor Drive. As with the previous facets of this project, this cost will also be funded from the Utilities Fund. The fund needs to perform these engineering-related duties are identified in the fiscal year 2019 budget. P, resolution number 19-R-44 is to award a contract for phase 1 of the Public Works Parking Lot Improvement Project. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract for the removal, preparation, and installation of a hot mix asphalt pavement and some minor concrete work for the first of 3-phase project to repair the Public Works parking lot located at 3900 Burnack. Resolution number 19-R-45 is to award a contract for 2019 sidewalk and curb replacement. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract for the removal and replacement of a failed and hazardous sidewalk section, along with the replacement curb and gutter sections due to failures or for storm sewer repairs. Resolution number 19-R-46, award a contract for 2019 street maintenance crack sealing of various city streets. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract for the preparation and installation of asphalt crack sealing on various streets for 2019. This is the first year of a contract that allows for up to 2 one-year extensions. The services were bid as part of a municipal partnering initiative, which includes 3 separate bids. The bids range from $1.15 to $1.35 per pound of sealant. S, resolution number 19-R-47, authorize the application for the 2019 Cook County Community Development Block Grant Funds. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the application process for obtaining Community Development Block Grant Funds. The CDBG project request for 2019 year is for utility, water main replacement, and waterway resurfacing for a section of Harbor Drive. The grant, which is being requested, would provide up to $400,000 for improvements to Harbor Drive if approved. Note that this is proposed to be the same project submittal as was made for 2017 and 2018, which was not awarded funding by Cook County. Resolution number 19-R-48 is to authorize submittal of a 5-year consolidated plan for the Cook County Community Development Block Grant Program. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the submittal of an updated 5-year consolidated plan to Cook County Department of Planning and Development for the Community Development Block Grant Program. U is the resolution number 19-R-49 to authorize certification of a matching funds available for the 2019 Cook County Community Development Block Grant Program funding application. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the execution of the certification of a local agency matching funds for the proposed 2019 Community Development Block Grant Program, project water main replacement and pavement resurfacing on a portion of Arbor Drive. X, resolution number 19-R-52 is to authorize a referendum to limit the terms of aldermen to 2 consecutive terms. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize a referendum question to the voters of the city of Rolling Meadows to reduce the current term limits for aldermen from 3 consecutive to 2 consecutive terms at the March 17, 2020 presidential election. Again, the question is, shall all 14 resolutions be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmats.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. All 14 resolutions are adopted. Resolution H, number 19-R-36, is to award a police towing contract to Hillside Towing. This resolution, if adopted, would award a police towing contract to Hillside Towing. The contract will secure for the next 3 years excellent and well-established professional towing services, the use and availability of quality equipment, all at a very economically low and competitive rate. Do I have a motion to move this forward?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Banter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Diastis, thank you. I believe you're the one who pulled this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I'm not necessarily objecting to this in particular, I am objecting and will be voting no on the fact that, in my opinion, the RFP that went out for the towing contract pretty much limited the bidders to one. And we've talked about this in the past when we've purchased various pieces of equipment, how sometimes staff will propose an RFP and create it so that only one bidder can actually meet all of the conditions. So in my opinion, I feel, and I've talked to the chief on this and expressed my opinion to him, so it's not a surprise, but I feel that this RFP was created to the benefit of only one bidder. So I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you, Alderman Diastis. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmats.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
No.
Williams.
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed. This does move forward. Resolution number 19-R-50 is to grant the final approval for the subdivision located at 2819, 2915 Kirchhoff Road, Meadow Square. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize approve a 26-lot subdivision which is currently occupied on a single lot at 2018-19, 2019-15 Kirchhoff Road, the former Dominic's Shopping Center. The property owner, Clark Street, and the contract purchaser of 9.5 acres, Taylor Morrison, are requesting the subdivision of this single lot into multiple lots for the purpose of building 106 townhomes on said 9.5 acres and reserving the front 1.6 acres to 2 commercial lots. The proposed subdivision is named Meadow Square Subdivision. Do I have a motion to move this forward?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Diastis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Banjer. Alderman Gell, you are the one who brought you have first opportunity here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I pulled this for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, and maybe we can answer the question later, but the question was that we had a community in the 2nd Ward a while back prior to this council that had asked to have a construction project take place, and they were denied. And then they recently came back to our council in May, and then they were told they have to come to the zoning. They have to then come to committee of the whole, and then they have to stand by for a first and a second reading, though nothing on their project had changed from the denial of the first time that they had gone through the gauntlet here. And now we have a project that has changed owners' hands, has permits that are in new names, project plans that have changed in and of themselves. They've gone through the zoning, they've gone through a committee of the whole, but now we're going to fast track it through this group of consent resolutions, and I don't understand why we wouldn't put that through a first and second reading similar to the other group who didn't have any changes but were made to follow this process. And in 2017, I'll get to asking maybe whoever the appropriate person is that would have the answer for that, I'll get to, but in 2017, I spent my freshman year here with a truncated 3-hour meeting with the Director of Economics and condensed it down to a 5-minute speech to the same council about why it does not make sense to turn this property into residential homes as a commercially zoned lot. I don't want to repeat those reasons, but we know that there's an inverse relationship that causes increased expenditures over time. And though it does seem to make sense that in the short run we can recognize $1 up front, but it will cost the community $5 in the future. In 2018, I brought this for potential vision to the property owners and to the council here with Craig, the owner of Comet. We had a vision, we had a drawing, and we sent this before the council. And some remarks under the breaths were, that's nice, but where were you 10 years ago when the gentleman had brought these drawings forward? In 2019, I just met with restaurateurs on Kirchhoff Road, both franchisees and local owners, and they've recognized that there is not enough residents who are engaging in their restaurants today to keep them afloat if we are going to go ahead and subdivide this property to leave 2 more property parcels up front for more restaurants. If we do that, they will have to split the current group of people who go out to eat among each other and force each other out of business. What we need is commerce and commercial work in this area in order to generate a cycle of economics and a virtuous cycle of bringing business back to the community, not housing.
Good.
So I guess back to the first question, why do we not have to have this go through a first and a second reading?
Thank you. I will let our parliamentarian.
Resolutions don't require a second reading.
How did this become a resolution?
Our ordinances provide for approval of subdivisions by way of resolution.
So not with anything to do with construction projects?
No.
Or
It's
change
just,
of hands or property owner?
No, it's just a plat of subdivision. That's all you're approving.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there further?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Budmetz.
I'm looking at this, and it looks like everything that I read, and I did a search for the word 26, and I don't see where the Planning and Zoning Commission voted on. It says there's a request for a 3-lot subdivision. There's no request for a 26-lot subdivision. I don't see where the Planning and Zoning Commission voted on that. There's nothing that says 26 lots, and the drawing date from Taylor Morrison looks like it has a date on it where it was revised, and it's after the meeting that the Planning and Zoning Commission has. So I have no idea what drawing it was that the Planning and Zoning Commission looked at. Is it the one? I don't know what revisions were made, so what drawing did they look at? Did it have 26 plots on it, or did it only have 3 plots on it? But nothing in their document says that they recognize having 26 plots in any of their comments. And so what did they vote on? Because according to the paperwork, it says they voted on a 3-lot subdivision, but this is asking us for a 26-lot subdivision. So I'm very confused, and I don't know what the Planning and Zoning Commission voted on. Can you please have somebody from the Planning and Zoning Commission tell us if they knew there was a 26-lot subdivision?
Thank you.
From the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Mr. Vogt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to the Planning and Zoning Commission, when staff wrote up the report to the Planning and Zoning Commission, we referred to a 3-lot subdivision because that was what was the preliminary approval given in February of 2018 to the Ryan Holmes petition. Taylor Morrison submitted documents, and the condition number 1 in the Planning and Zoning Commission vote reads, 1, site is to be developed in substantial conformance with the preliminary plat of survey dated January 18th, 2019. I don't have that in front of me, but I believe it consistent with what minor revisions were made to street names in the packet information that City Council has tonight that has 26 lots on the proposed final plat.
Mr. Budmetz, is that?
Can I only further say that the Planning and Zoning Commission voted against this? And so I don't understand. They voted against it, and I don't know what document they looked at because it's not in the packet. So how can I vote yes to something that they voted against, and I don't even know if we have the same documents that they had?
So, Mr. Vogt, sure, one moment. Mr. Vogt, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could just correct Alderman Budmetz's statement, the final plat of subdivision was voted 5-2 to recommend final approval.
Thank you. Mr. Vogt, does that, Mr. Budmetz?
The final plat of subdivision.
The final plat of subdivision was a vote separate from the plan development, sir.
And that showed 26 lots? I'm just curious. I don't understand.
Correct.
Yes.
The plat submitted by Taylor Morrison that was in the Planning and Zoning Commission packet showed 26 lots that you are seeing in your packet tonight.
I'm just saying that the report doesn't say that, so I'm at a loss.
Okay. Can you forward that to Mr. Budmetz? I mean,
We can provide that information. We can certainly provide that through Friday report or through other means or for staff report at the next meeting.
But this is a one and done, right? We're not getting a second crack at this?
No.
No.
Oh, I don't know. Then when do I don't get to look at that before we vote?
Well, you basically have the information that Mr. Vogt is giving you.
The plat is in the packet. I'm not clear as to what other information we're being requested to
Can
provide.
you, is there a page number on that? Is it on electronic?
I don't have the electronic with me.
Sorry. You got it. You have it.
Yeah, I'm not looking, no.
Here's, can you,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's dated March the 13th, and the committee met on the 5th.
Yeah, it's the
That's
dates
it.
that are in question on this.
we're getting clarification on Mr. Budmetz's request.
The final plat of subdivision that is in your packets is dated January 18th, 2019. The only change that I'm aware of that's been made is the street name since the January date, and per the March 5th Planning and Zoning Commission deliberations and consideration, which is what item number 1, conditions from their meeting, is what I just read regarding the reference to the plat of survey.
Okay, thank you.
Were you able to find it, Mr. Budmetz?
Thank you.
Question answered. Thank you. Further questions? Further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Budmetz.
No.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
No. No.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
5 in favor, 2. Please, I will ask again for some order, please. Thank you. This brings us to Resolution W, number 19-R51, is to approve, ladies, gentlemen, please, approve and accept a municipal sign easement for a proposed community event sign at 2550 Quinton Road. This resolution, if adopted, would have the City of Rolling Meadows approve and accept, for recording purposes, a permanent easement being granted for a section of land to be used for purposes of community event sign and associated and landscaping, which will be maintained by the City of Rolling Meadows. The section of land, 12 feet by 5 feet, 60 square feet, is located at 2550 Quinton Road. Please, ladies and gentlemen, within the City of Rolling Meadows, the proposed community event sign is to be constructed within the easement granted by the Northwest Suburban Municipal Joint Action Water Agency. Do I have a motion to move this forward?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Baner. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Majikis. Nick and Mr. Budmetz, Alderman Budmetz, you brought it forward.
Yeah, this evening I received an email, I'm assuming the rest of you did as well, that with petitions signed by several members of the community near this sign, and obviously they don't want it. So I have a difficult time of overriding their desires when this is in their neighborhood, and it seems that they didn't get a chance to converse with Mr. Cannon, or Alderman Cannon, before the last vote for whatever reason. So I have a difficult time approving this over their objections, and I at least think that there should be some discussion between the parties before we look at this. So at the very least, I think we should table this or vote it down, because it doesn't seem like they've actually had their day in court, if you will.
So, yes, I'm sorry, Miss. Go ahead, Miss. Okay. Alderman Jacobs, yes.
Thank you. A quick question. This kind of reminds me of the cell tower issue that we had a couple years ago in my ward. But anyway, and I know at that time the Park District had sent out certified letters to the residents in the area, and I'm guessing that's the city's policy was also to send to residents around informing this. And was there a meeting that they were told about or anything too?
Go ahead, Mr. Volt, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry.
To answer Alderman Majikis' question, the requirements of the Planning and Zoning Commission hearings, of which this took place, I believe, December 4th, is a 250-foot mailing radius. That's per law, per code, and that's what was done in this case. We did have a hearing on December 4th. We did have a couple of people, to my recollection, attend that meeting and speak on the matter.
Okay, so it's not a good term. I'm seeing residents' heads go like this, so.
Within 250 feet
Right.
of the
I get-
property itself.
Right, I get, because that's what exactly was with the cell tower, so I understand that not everybody knew about it and stuff. So, so I can actually sympathize with them, because I know the fight that we lost with the cell tower and how that affected the residents in my ward. So is it, I would agree with Alderman Budmats, that if we could at least table this for now, is that a possibility? What does
So-
that happen with the deposit?
I don't believe that, Mr.
First, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
First thing, there is no deposit. As I told Mrs. Mao, we have a purchase order out there. So the city has not done any transaction in money. So we have a purchase order for the community event sign, if you want to call it that. Again, if for some reason the purchase order is pulled back, there could be a penalty, but we've never asked them that. So the purchase order is out there for the sign. This just deals with the easement. So again, there is no timing on this. There is no guaranteed time when the sign would go in. So if the council wants to table it, that's in. And going back to both speakers who spoke during the open session where they said to reconsider, again, all that's out there is a purchase order. So if the council decides that they want to bring back something, that would be between us and the sign company.
Thank you. So I believe
So-
Mr. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so being that, been through this similar situation, I think that's only fair.
So which one of you would like to make the motion to table it, and who wants a second?
Actually, 2 questions, please.
Okay, yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, the sign that we've provided a purchase order, is it specific to this location, or would that sign work any place in Rolling Meadows?
Mr. Crumstock?
The sign is created for this site, but it could be used somewhere else, but it might need some refabrication because how it's positioned is to be viewed. So again, if the council decides that we would go back to the contractor. So your question is, can it be used somewhere else? There is a potential, but again, without asking them, because this one was created for this site and how it is actually created.
Okay, second question. I remember we used to have a sign in front of places where there was going to be something before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Was the sign placed out in front as well as the certified letters?
That would be Mr. Vogt, please.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so there was a sign placed up there. Thank you. All right, so we need a motion to postpone?
Please,
Is that
I'll
what you-
move that.
Which,
I'll second that, Mayor.
Mr. Budmats has made the motion to table.
Yes.
Ms. Majakis has seconded. Is there further discussion on the motion to table? Mr. Diastis?
Is there a date to bring it back, or is table just let it go? I just want a clarification.
Well, how long, I guess the question would be to staff, what do we need to turn it around? If you're tabling it the next meeting, or, go ahead, Mr. McCall?
Well, if you table it, you're just kind of putting it away for an indefinite period of time, which I'm not a big fan of myself.
Right, I just want to make sure that everybody knows the difference between postpone and table. Postpone just comes back the next meeting. Table just goes away and comes back some other day.
Right.
But there's no definite time frame on it.
Right, I'm not a big fan of tabling things.
So I'm not a big fan of tabling it unless we set a date and table it until such and such a date. This way, whatever action needs to take place gets taken place.
So a motion to table until the last meeting in April? Does that work for you, Mr. Bud, or Ms. Majakis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would question if that gives the residents enough time to,
It's a month, so,
the end of April.
right, Mr. Vogt, you would then send out letters?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not clear as to what the direction to staff will be at this point, but we will do whatever the direction of the city council is.
I believe that Mr. Budmats wants it tabled so that there can be further discussion from the residents and further information from the city.
For a point of information for Mr. Vogt, we received an email tonight with a petition signed by, a large number of residents who are not in favor of this. So, we at least should have they should have their chance to be heard. So I understand that like 250 feet away from the sign received notices, but it seems like it's going to affect more than those 250 feet of people.
So, Mr. Vogt, how long would it take you to put something together so you could reach out to the residents to have a informational meeting? Sorry to put you on the...
Thank you, Mayor. That's exactly what I was just going to ask. If the direction is to put an informational meeting together that the city staff would host in this room, for example, or other location to be determined, I would certainly want a couple of weeks to craft a letter, get a location, get the information out to residents, and give them enough lead time. So I would say at least, to the second meeting in April at the earliest.
Approximately a month from now.
A month would be fine.
A second month? Is that acceptable?
If that's the direction.
Is that acceptable, Mr. Budmetz?
That's great.
So the motion is to table until the second meeting in April. At that time, there will be more information and a letter sent out for a meeting from the city council. From community development.
We will likely get a letter out by next week and select a date and invite everyone within. We'll look at the petitions that were signed in terms of the geographic location and try to cover everybody that way if that's acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
One other item, could we have staff look at the possibility of placing the purchase order on hold, or at least making it so that it's not so site-specific and that it could be reused in a different location, should that determine later that that's not the optimum location?
I think I heard that loud and clear, Mr. Mayor and Alderman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we, furthermore, can we have a discussion, we have a first, we have a second, we have had discussion, maybe we have a vote on tabling this. Yes, Mr.
You didn't ask me for my opinion yet. I had my hand raised.
And
Mr. Mayor, I'd like
thank you.
Could I just make a point of order, please?
Yes.
Okay, I'm for tabling this. I'm fine with that. But just as a point of order, 28 homes did get certified letters. And to my knowledge, only one gentleman came to our meeting for planning and zoning when there was an open discussion about the sign and how it would affect the area. So just point of order only. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on tabling the amendment?
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Budmetz.
Yes.
7 in favor, none opposed. That motion is tabled until the last week meeting of April. This brings the council to other businesses and reports. I have no appointments, no proclamations, no city clerk report. This brings us to staff reports, community items of interest. Mr. Comstock.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Actually, I have two other items just to update. The first one is actually not on the topics to mention, but just, I was hoping my hand would have been recognized, but Mayor, you did read the script correctly, that March 17th of 2020 is the next election that the referendum is. It's on the resolution. It's just a squibbler's typo where it says March 27th, so it will be changed in the resolution to March 17th of 2020, just for clarification on that one. So the items that we do want to mention in the topics, early voting for the consolidated election is still going on. Please check Cook County for voting locations. Please vote on April 2nd. The Rolling Meadows Chamber of Commerce will be conducting a chili challenge with a twist on Sunday, March 31st between noon and 2 p.m. at Reps Place, which is located at 3200 Kirchhoff Road. There will be a $10 attendee fee, and this covers chili sampling. Both chiefs who are sitting to my left are actually going to be having chilies. Don't know what they're going to have in it, but it will probably have some kind of meat. So the fire department, actually that shift on that day will actually be doing one of the chilies too. Actually at the chamber meeting today, we did mention that Myers will be doing some cooking demos. Supposedly the first one will start at noon. And again, that is this Sunday at Reps Place. Just a friendly reminder that yard waste collection starts on Monday, April 1st. I'm not fooling. That's when we start. In addition, please remember that this marks the end of early refuse set-out, which is allowed by ordinance from November 1st to March 31st. Beginning Monday, April 1st, residents should place their refuse and recyclables to the curb after 6 p.m. the night before the scheduled pickup. For information, or if you have any questions on recyclables or any of those kind of pieces, please contact Public Works at 847-963-055-0500, obviously, or visit the website. We do want to remind, and again, I've been doing this for the last few meetings, the reminder for all candidates and supporters about placing signs in the parkway. Per Rolling Meadows Code Section 122-22, signs, political campaign signs. signs or posters announcing the candidates seeking public political office and or political issues. And obviously, they have to be in an area of 12 foot setback. The sign shall be displayed no more than 60 days. Obviously, with the election coming up on April 2nd, that shouldn't be any difference. And signs shall be removed within 48 hours after the election. Political signs are not permitted on public property. Obviously, St. Colette School at 3900 Pheasant Drive will be conducting an antique and vintage spring market on Saturday, April 13th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. To attend, it will be $2 for adults. Kids are free. I don't know what a kid is considered, what age it is, but that's what the flyer was given to me. Obviously, we do want to mention that Anna's Red Apple, that's the official name of them. It's also going by Red Apple. They're located at 2121 South Plum Grove Road. Will finally open for dinners starting Monday, April 22nd. That is confirmed. Obviously, most people have known that Anna's Red Apple has really been a breakfast and a lunch establishment. So we also want to mention, as what was actually discussed, if Karen Gill is still over here, but we do have Earth Day activities that are set for April 27th. From 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., individuals who want to participate should meet at Old Public Works, 3200 Central Road. For additional information, please contact Public Works at 847-963-0500. I do see Karen back there. If you'd like to talk to her about participating, that would go great too. And obviously, because this is the last meeting of the month, we do want to mention future topics on April committee meetings. The Economic Development Committee will be not meeting. This is also due to a lack of items in the general election. The April meeting has been canceled. The Planning and Zoning Commission will be meeting for the month of April on Wednesday, April 17th at 7:30 p.m. in the council chambers. There's really one public hearing that's tentatively scheduled, and it consists of a sign appeal for an electronic billboard sign at 3105 Tollview Drive. It's in our M1 manufacturing district. Sam Rody from Genbard Media is the petitioner. This was actually continued from the January 9, 2019 meeting, and this is actually something that will be on our new zoning review as we talk about. So with that, those are items of interest with the two additions.
Mr. Crumstock, new business?
There's actually two new businesses that we talk about for February of 2019, nothing to really highlight.
Mr. Vogt, Traffic Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The March report is in your packet. Just a couple of items briefly to highlight. Some of them are repeat items. We'll continue now that spring is about to be here. Discussions on Carriageway Drive regarding the condominium complexes with their refuse containers. The Meadowbrook Lois on-street parking issue was just acted on tonight, so thank you for that. The Kirchhoff Road corridor traffic signal improvements were actually completed today in regards to putting the new cabinets in at Kirchhoff Rowling and Kirchhoff Route 53 off-ramps. That project went very well today. We thank the police department for their assistance helping the contractor get those done. We apologize for any inconvenience for traffic being a little bit snarled due to the fact that the signals were taken out of service for several hours today. Bike path grant applications, we talked about those, supportive of the both the Quinton bike path application and the Hicks Road Euclid that was voted on tonight. New business item was a guardrail request from Preserves at Woodfield at Arbor Drive, where there's a 90-degree curve. This has been considered in the past. We remanded this to our city engineer to investigate both right-of-way limitations as well as the grade of the road, whether we can do anything from a design standpoint. We will also be talking with Village of Schaumburg staff because the location is right on the border. The roadway is jurisdiction of Rolling Meadows, but the adjoining properties are in the Village of Schaumburg. And one thing for the next meeting, which is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, April 3rd, we will have on that agenda, in addition to the Arbor Drive guardrail, topically, the Wilkie Clarney Court guardrail that has been discussed, and we had a field meeting out there with the neighborhood last Wednesday, and that will be on our agenda for April 3rd. So we'll talk more about that at next month's report.
Thank you. I believe you have a brief non-union benefits report.
Thank you. Yes, just bring the council's attention now. Staff is to prepare a ordinance for first reading consideration at the April 9th meeting with regards to the fact that now that the Local 150 and AFSCME contracts were approved in 2018, we have a situation where some of the employee benefits for the remaining non-union employees, most of which are supervisory in nature, are less for specific vacation accrual carryovers and sick leave. Outlined this in the staff report and wanted to make council aware of what was forthcoming as a staff proposal for the April 9th meeting.
Thank you. Future committee of the whole meetings, Mr. Comstock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Obviously, this one is just giving notice to the City Council on a future committee of the whole. We will be discussing a City Code Section 2-53. Not putting words into Alderman Budmetz, but we've had some discussions. The biggest part of this additional discussion on this code is really for notice, for future notice, obviously, if this is ever utilized, and how it actually is provided, and overall how it would actually be utilized. And again, this is just draft wording. It will be on a future committee of the whole. This section of the code obviously has been around for over 50 years, but the intent is to have a discussion and also really open up some of the notice provisions of this. And I hope that's a quick summary of how we've put this in as a discussion item for a future COW.
Thank you, Mr. Comstock. Under matters not under the agenda, there were a couple of comments about the new rules that we read in the beginning of a meeting. I just want to say that the reason they were instituted is every citizen is free to express their opinion, but they are not free to attack staff or members of the council. So in the future, please come forward to express your opinions, and it would be appreciated. Does anyone else have matters not on the agenda?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams.
If I may read this, ever since the recent need for council to notify an outside entity that we did not want the name of Rolling Meadows used in their promotional material, I have been bothered by the city's failure to formally inform all of the council and the citizens of Rolling Meadows as to just what an alderman's responsibilities are when it comes to representing the city to other people and organizations. Whether we like it or not, we are put in the position where people assume that we can speak for Rolling Meadows or can commit the city's cooperation on a given project. I've been given to understand it is our responsibility to make clear to those who would have us join their cause that we cannot do so on behalf of the city. And we must not verbally or by action mislead others to think that we can do so. The fiduciary responsibility of aldermen is to represent the citizens of their ward, not the city or any other wards. At no time should we treat that responsibility casually or even hint to others that we possess powers or responsibilities we do not have as aldermen. I'm bothered by the rather casual approach taken by Alderman Gallo, whose careless action created the necessity.
Please, order. Please. Order, please. Thank you. Please, order, please. Thank you.
Who created the necessity for the city to pull its name from the support of an organization which for all intents and purposes appears to be worthy, because the approval did not come from the consensus of the council before being insinuated or given. That was an embarrassment for us all. To those who would pass this off as being of no great moment, I would point out that in their own business, they certainly would not allow an employee to make or even appear to make comments or take actions for their businesses beyond their position in the company. And if they overstep, they could well be in danger of losing their employment. Having owned my own business for over 19 years, I can assure you this would not happen more than once, and if the problems caused were grave enough, the employee would be fired immediately after the first offense. All aldermen need to step up and accept their responsibility of office to make sure that they meet with and are aware of their authority, and that they do not speak for anything other than their personal beliefs and the ward they represent on issues involving Rolling Meadows. When I became alderman, my fiduciary responsibility was not outlined for me in writing. I assume this may be true for other aldermen. Therefore, to make it clear to all aldermen and the citizens of the city, I propose that the city manager, mayor, and city attorney put out for the aldermen an outline of the laws and/or rules covering this type of occurrence. They should also issue a formal reassurance to the people of Rolling Meadows that an alderman's failure to properly care for his or her fiduciary responsibilities will not be tolerated, and should it happen again, what course of action will be taken to remedy it.
Thank you. Do we have any further matters not on the agenda?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Gatto, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been very tolerant tonight. Yes, I have. Now, this you have been warned on a number of occasions. If I have to ask to have the room cleared, I will. So please, Alderman Gallo is about to speak. Please be respectful enough to listen. Thank you. Young lady, I have asked you with all due respect.
With all due respect, the reason that this application for a grant, which was not the actual grant, came before the city council was because there was positive publicity with my name attached to it, and I happened to be running for mayor, and another alderman on this council did not like it, and he ran to the city manager and filed a complaint about this. They worked together to try and figure out a way to then put this on the agenda before I even had an opportunity to bring it up as a ward report or matters not on the agenda. The time the article came out, there were 2 weeks between the next meeting. Within that time, it had already made its way on as an agenda item. So with this, because there is no specific agenda that I have to stick to right now, I brought up the fact that this made its way selectively onto the council, along with the fact that there was a logo of our city's emblem used. And for some reason, our city manager didn't have the executive discretion to just make a phone call and take it down. But yet he has the executive discretion to spend over $70,000 of taxpayer money, and we don't focus on that. He's got a $10,000 limit. And so if a rule is a rule is a rule, anything over $10,000 must require council authority and approval. If a rule is a rule is a rule, and I'm not allowed to pursue getting a grant, which was a zero cost to the city. Zero cost. Not that it was a percent would be covered by the city and a percent would be covered by the grant. Zero cost to the city, which would have brought in over $600,000 should we have been lucky enough to see our initiative to be enticing enough to capture the National Safety Council's appeal. But instead, you wanted to make a political mockery out of this and focus on things that are not relevant to the city in terms of the long-term ramifications of the community. My actions here did not have any impact on the city and where it could go or where it's been. We focus on things that are so trivial instead of focusing on the significant issues. And I think we need to take that into consideration right now.
May I reply?
I feel I need to, thank you. I need to reply. When this came out in the newspaper, we asked Mr. Gallo for a copy of the grant. His response was stand by. We have not received a copy of the grant. I reached out to Mr. Gallo for more information. It was not forthcoming. We had to go through basically a Freedom of Information Act to find the information. All this process had to be was to come forward and say, here's the information. We still do not have the entire grant. The grant application was 10 pages, and when we did go forward, it's the cost when It is, you received the grant from our fire chief going to look forward. I want to make it very clear, when they talk to another city, it's per vehicle, per day, there is a cost. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. And excuse, Mr. Gallo, please, let me finish.
It's misinformation.
No, it is not, Mr. Gallo. And you know, I reached out to you again. All you had to do was provide us a copy of the grant. Have you provided the city a copy of the grant application? All 10 pages?
You have the exact...
No, Mr. Gallo, the question is, we reached out to you. Excuse me, I'm asking a question he refuses to answer. Did you... Mr. Gallo, did you, when we asked you for a copy of the grant, did you provide it to us?
I told you, Mr. Mayor, you have the same information I do. I cannot get anything more than what you already obtained through channels beyond me. Why am I going to give you redundant copies of what you have? There's no reason for that. It's the same exact thing, and we've already addressed that. The other thing is, you have to make it very clear that for the city of Rolling Meadows, this is a zero cost for all devices. It has nothing to do with what's happening up in Michigan. Nothing to do with what's happening in Michigan because of the relationships that I've fostered. So with all due respect, don't start spouting information about cost and fees that are not relevant to this situation. You cannot do that to the public. It's not appropriate.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Gallo, my complaint here is not with the grant. My complaint here is not with its cost. My complaint here is with someone saying for the city of Rolling Meadows that they will participate in this without adequate authority. That's all. That's my only complaint here. I want things. It seems to me that there's rules in how the city of Rolling Meadows can make commitments. Those rules do not permit me as an alderman to go out and say the city will do this type of thing, or even to insinuate that.
Okay, so when Alderman Diastis makes a restaurant program...
Mr. Gallo, let Mr. Williams... Mr. Gallo,
okay.
Please, thank you.
So clearly, it doesn't work for me to go out and find some preliminary work toward an initiative. But if Alderman Diastis goes out and has conversations on behalf of the city of Rolling Meadows exploring a restaurant program, much like the one in Wheeling on 22, he has full autonomy to do that, and nobody will say anything, and he's representing the city of Rolling Meadows as an alderman.
So,
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Diastis, please. Thank you, Mr. Diastis.
Mr. Mayor, I have never approached the city of Wheeling, nor any other city, so what Mr. Gallo just said right now is a blatant lie. I have never approached any other city.
Okay? Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I
yes,
address
go ahead.
this?
Go ahead.
I have to agree with Alderman Williams. When he and I came on the council, we were given little or no direction as to what we could or couldn't do. You may recall that I went and I sought bids for something for a vehicle lift. I knew that we were overpaying for it. I didn't say that I was on behalf of the city of Rolling Meadows, but of course I had to say where it was going to be installed. So I went and did investigation. There's no way to investigate some things to do on behalf of, as an alderman, on behalf of the city without saying, yeah, I'm an alderman in the city of Rolling Meadows trying to get information. And so there's a lot of gray area, and I believe that we were poorly instructed as to what we could or could not say or do when in trying to do our job to the best of our ability. And so I will agree with Alderman Williams that there has to be much more definition as to what we can or can't do, and I think that we're kind of left to our own devices in this area.
I agree.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.